Assalamualaikum and a very good day to Doctor and also my fellow friends who are watching this. So this is from Group 2 for our journal task on screencast. So my name is Alia Jazina binti Mataha and I'll be talking about the abstract and the introduction of the journal, and followed by Amjad Hakimi that will be talking about the literature section of the journal, and followed by Farisha Nadiana that will be talking about the method and conclusion of the journal, and lastly by Heidi Yasmin that will talk about the results and the discussion. So the journals that we use are around the topic of research language. So these are the journals that we have chosen. The first journal that we use is called Identification of Natural Whistle Vowels by Non-Whistlers, written by Julia Mayer, Fanny Munier, and Laurie Dentel, written in 2007, followed by the second journal, which is Whistled Speech, a natural phonetic description of languages adapted to human perception and to the acoustical environment, written by Julia Mayer on 2005. And lastly, our last journal, which is a study on the principles of human whistling and its analysis by using the parameters of speech production models, written by Sang Hyu Yoon, Kwang Bo-kyu, and Myung Jin Bae in 2019. So that's the three journals that we are using for this task. Alright, so let's move on to abstract and introduction. So in abstract, I have divided it into four structures, which is the heading, the tense, the content, and the keyword, which is appear under the abstract. So as you can see, for the three journals, we can see that the headings are all the same, which is they use the word abstract. And for the tenses are the same too, which is all three journals uses the present tense. For the content, for the first and second journal, they talk about the summary of the journal. Meanwhile, for the third journal, they talk about the summary of the journal, but is more detailed than the other journals. For the keywords, for the first journal, they use index terms. For the second journal, they do not have any keyword. And for the third journal, they use the word keyword. So let's move on to introduction. In introduction, as you can see, I have divided it into three sections, which is the heading, the tense, and the content. So for the heading, as you can see, all three journals use the same heading, which is 1 point introduction. And for the tenses are also the same. All of them uses present tense. And for the content, the first journal talks about what research language is and further explanation on how the research was conducted. For the second journal, they have two subheadings and then gives explanation on what research language is, followed by the variety of encoding strategies and the didactic value. And lastly, the third journal, they gives explanation on what whistle language is and explains further on the acoustic part of the whistle and how it is produced and used. So that is all from me for the abstract and introduction section. So moving on to the next section.
Okay, good day, Doctor. So now I'll be presenting on my part of the slides. So I'll just switch to the slides. Alright, so I will be presenting the literature review of the three articles that we have read. So my name is Hamjad Hakimi bin Adam, matric number 197866. And so for the literature review, after reading, I couldn't find any specific headings for literature review itself. As for the tense used, all three of the articles used past tense. And as for the content, four of the contents are similar. The four contents being extensive search and analysis of literature, analysis of type and extent of literature, implications on further research, and the statistical integration of studies of literature. The only article with an additional content is the first article, which is the identification of natural whistle vowels by non-whistlers. The additional content is a broad question on extent of literature. So yeah, that's it for my part on literature review. So moving on to the next presenter for her section of the slide. Thank you.
Hi there, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to you, Doctor. My name is Farisha Nadena Midhat, and I'll be presenting on the methodology and conclusion section. Alright. As mentioned by Alia, we are analyzing 3 articles, and for the 3 articles, the headings for the methodology section for the first article is method, the second one is material and method, but the last one, the third article, is simulation and results. As you can see, the researcher has combined the methodology and the results section under the same heading, which is simulation and results. Okay, for the tense wise, all 3 articles were in past tense, and it's easy for me to identify the methodology in the content wise because I have found out these keywords in the articles. For the first article, I've discovered the words tested and experiments, and it is stated in the methodology section that 40 students were tested in an experiment. So it's how they carry out this research. For the second article, it is stated that that the data was recorded during a scientific expedition. And the last one, they stated in the article that the data was compared and analyzed via semitone relationship between musical tones. All right. For the conclusions, all 3 articles had the same headings, which is conclusions. And for the tense-wise, they're all in present tense. And it's easy for me to identify the conclusion in the content-wise because all of them summarizes the whole article. But the first one, it summarizes by mentioning the results and providing justification. The second one, it just summarizes the article very, very briefly. And the last one summarizes the whole article by mentioning parts of the methodology and results, summarizing. Yeah, that's all from me. Let's move on to the next one. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heidi Yasmin, and right now I'm going to be talking about the results section as well as the discussion section for the 3 articles that we found. Now, we are going to start with the results section. Okay, so the first article, which is titled Identification of Natural Whistled Vowels by Non-Whistlers, the heading that the researcher used is results. The results section also has a few diagrams that illustrate the results, and there are a few subheadings under the results section, and then past tense is used. Now for the second article, which is whistled speech, a natural phonetic description of languages adapted to human perception and to the acoustical environment. Now the heading is analysis of phonetic reduction. Now under this heading there are several subheadings and a couple of diagrams. Present tense is used in this section. Now for the third article, which is a study on the principles of human whistling and its analysis by using the parameters of speech production models, the heading that the researcher used is simulation and results. The results section also has a few diagrams that illustrate the results, and present tense is used. Now moving on to the discussion section. For the first article, the heading is discussion. As for the tense, present tense is mostly used. However, when authors are being mentioned, past tense is used. For the second article, the heading that the researcher used is discussion. Under this heading, there is a subheading, and present tense is used. For the third article, unfortunately, there is no discussion section.